Computers are used to control all manner of machines these days. So let's have a look at a very simple introduction to the topic. So this is a very simple controller, and this chip, microchip here, is called a PIC, a Programmable Interface Controller. And the idea is that it can link whatever happens in the outside world to a program which then controls a sequence as a result. So we've got to put something in, it remembers it, processes it, and brings it back out again. So it's really a chip that remembers, but can be additionally used to control things. And what's being controlled at the moment are these little LEDs here. So if we can control an LED and turn it on and off when we want it to turn on and off, then we can add circuitry to this, and that's what this bit is for, this circuit board. We can add circuitry which can then control lamps, motors, sound effects, switch things on and off, just like in a proper industrial control process. So let's have a look at this very basic controller. So we've got a little battery pack powering it there. We've got a set of little switches. These red blocks are little switches. And this one is the one that controls the programming into the PIC chip, and then the program out from the PIC chip to the LEDs to turn them on and off. So what we'll do is we'll create a very simple sequence of the LEDs and then store that sequence, and when we switch it back on, we can play that sequence. So it's effectively recording the sequence we put in. So let's use this little memory button, put in a sequence of LEDs, store them, and then change to another sequence. So very simply, a very simple sequence might be flash this LED on and off. What could be simpler? So we're powered on at the moment. Just going to use this little wooden rod here because the switches are so tiny. It makes it easier to operate the switches. So we've got the programming mode on. So there's the program mode, and that switches up. We've got stop, which just stops the program from running. We don't want to run the program yet. We want to do that after we've created the program and stored it. And these are the programming switches. So 8 possible switches, 8 LEDs. So let's just try one. Might have to turn the light down a little bit there, so just make it easier to see the LEDs as they go. So we're just going to turn on the first one. Oops, that was 2. So there's the first one turned on. Can you see that? Yep. There's the first one turned on. But if we want to store that as the first line in our program in the chip, we have to press the memory button. So let's press the memory button. All the LEDs flash, which acknowledges that the program's gone in, the program line's gone in, and now we'll turn that back off. Now you might want to remember that something's turned on, but we also want the computer to remember it's turned off. That's an important fact. You've got to be able to turn things off. So there's everything off. Let's remember that. So we've remembered on, we've remembered off. Well, what happens if we just repeat that whole thing? Well, that's exactly what this can do. It can repeat a sequence, and that's a very short sequence we've just put in there. So why not play it back? So now let's say we're not programming anymore. There we go. But we want to run the program that we have. And there it is. That simple on-off sequence that we recorded is now a program inside the PIC, and then we've just played it back by running it. So we've used the run option to be able to play it back. Well, very, very quickly, if you know that, you can do all manner of things with sequences and make some fun sort of light chasers, as if it's Christmas decorations that are turning on and off or whatever. But of course, it could be a machine process. It could be the first LED starts a warning sound to tell you it's about to start. When that one stops, the next one starts, which might operate a safety system to keep everybody out of the way. Barriers have to be in place, etc. Then the next one operates, which might be the machine itself, which might have a drill or something operating in it. And we'll simulate that with little Lego toys a little bit later on. So there's our very first sequence. So let's turn that off. stop the program, and we'll go back to programming, and of course we'll just do one more, very simple one. So let's say we want to start a light chaser that goes all the way up, and all we have to do is turn on the first LED, turn it off again, turn on the second LED, turn it off again, turn on the third LED, and off again. We'll just go to the fourth one. 1, 2, 3, fourth LED. Oops, get back off there. Fourth LED, turn it on, back off again. So there's the first 4 LEDs. So let's turn it into run it as a program. We'll turn program mode off. We'll turn the sequence run on. And there's our very first simple sequence. One additional feature of this simple controller, there are lots of different types, is that these switches have now been deactivated for programming because you've gone to program off, but they have a second function, and it's a run speed, so the speed of the program can be altered. So if we simply try second switch along, you can see it's slowed it down. Next switch along. And of course that's very useful because you might want to be able to give people what? A chance to take an action based upon what they can see happening. So can you imagine these might be a set of boxes with messages in them, or statements on a computer come up and it must leave you time to read the statement before you make a choice. So that's even slower. There we go, look at that. And then this one would be the fastest, which would be more fun for Christmas decorations, really. So these programmers are very, very simple, and very young children can use them. But it's a fabulous introduction into a sequence of actions that can be recorded and then played back. And the sequence could control something other than Christmas lights, but Christmas lights is a very simple start. And we'll attach some sort of real separate lights to them and see what happens a little bit later. So that's our very simple introduction to this particular PIC controller. There are loads of different types, and it's a sequential controller. Simply controls a series of outputs in sequence. That's the end of that. Turn it off.